Setting boundaries won't save your relationship because if she doesn't respect you, those boundaries don't matter. Today, I'll show you why most men get ignored and how to command respect without ever raising your voice. I've lived it, I've coached it, and I've seen how the game really works. So stop talking, start leading. Let's go. We're going live.
We'll do it live.
This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
What a week, boy. I'm excited for the weekend. It's WrestleMania weekend too. Can I get a hell yeah? Sound off in the chat. I want to hear a hell yeah from those people watching right now. Let me know. Drop a 1 in the chat if you're planning on watching WrestleMania this weekend too. Just let me know. Let me know if you're a wrestling fan. Did you know that this channel, my channel, if you are new to it, my name is Paul Bauer, and I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. Now, this is interesting. Most men think that boundaries are ultimatums or polite requests. They're not. The real issue isn't her behavior. It's your inability to maintain mental frame and enforce non-negotiables with power. If she's steamrolling your standards, if you're walking on eggshells, if you're talking it out only makes it worse, that's not miscommunication. That's a lack of respect. You don't talk her into respecting you. You become a man who doesn't need to talk. Today's show is about building the kind of boundaries that enforce themselves. You'll learn why most boundaries fail, how to command respect without confrontation, and the real test of whether your boundaries will hold or fold under pressure. So stick around, because by the end of the stream, you'll have a blueprint for reclaiming control in your relationships without raising your voice or making threats. But before we get into it, do be sure to, where are we at here? Where are we at? Do be sure to like, subscribe, and hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And please, for the love of God, sound off in the live chat if you're watching today. I want to hear from you, okay? And if you have questions, I can bring them up on the screen. That's what I love about lives, is you guys can actually participate. If you guys have questions, you can send them in while I'm going live, which is really cool. But if you send a question, do consider sending it as a super chat. I don't always see what you guys are writing in the chat because I'm busy with my own show notes and trying to produce content that helps you. But if I will always see the super chats, they like pop up. They're sort of highlighted for me, so they're much easier to see. So if you really want me to answer something, do be sure to send that as a super chat. And it also helps support the show more than anything else. So let's talk about why boundaries fail and what they reveal about you. All right. Boundaries, they're not words, right? They aren't necessarily words. They're consequences. They're not words, they're consequences, okay? If you talk more than you act, you're negotiating from weakness. So a lot of guys who think that they're setting a boundary, they're really not. They're over-explaining themselves. They're trying to give justifications for why they have this non-negotiable. They're trying to persuade her to stop doing the bad behavior that requires the boundary in the first place. And if you have to explain it and justify why you need a boundary, it's not a boundary. Now you're negotiating. And if you're negotiating, it subcommunicates that you're being weak about it. And it tells her, I don't have to respect it. Okay. So that's why on the thumbnail, it says this isn't a negotiation. You tell her the boundary and you don't have to justify why you have the boundary. Okay. Boundaries are for you, and they're about what you will tolerate in your life, and you will tolerate from the people who you choose to bring into your life. They're non-negotiable. They either follow the boundary and respect the boundary, or they get stepping, right? A boundary without personal power is really just a request at the end of the day, if you think about it, right? If you don't back your boundary up with actual consequences, it's just fluff and BS, right? It's a request, and requests, sadly, are optional, right? I would prefer if you didn't go out with your Slooty Sloot 304 friends. I'd prefer if you didn't. That's a request, right? But I won't stay married to a woman who goes out with her Slooty Sloot 304 friends. You can do that, but like, we're done, right? That's not an option. That's not an option. And if you set a boundary like that strong of a boundary, you have to be willing to go to the next step, right? It's much harder in a divorce, or much harder if you're married, I should say. It's much harder to do something like that if you're married, because there's a lot of financial and opportunity cost consequences and emotional consequences and all that kind of stuff when it comes to a divorce, right? But if it's something that strong that you feel that strongly about, I mean, typically you've established that before you got married, unless you're one of those guys who are pretty dumb like I was when I got married when I was 20 years old, right? Or I was rushing for that white picket fence, and I only spent 3 months total in person with her before rushing for that, rushing for the wedding, and we ended up eloping. There's a lot of guys out there that have done that, okay? But if you're more discerning during the dating process and the relationship process, and like you're still adamant about getting married, maybe you're one of those guys, you should establish this kind of stuff before you put that ring on it, because once you put a ring on it, things get infinitely harder. Right? But you still have to be that strong. You have to be willing to walk, right? And now women will test your boundaries to test you. Women will test your boundaries in order to test you, to see how strong you really are. Right? They're not necessarily doing it because they want to break the boundaries. They actually don't want to win. They actually want you to set those boundaries. They want to feel your strength. They want to know that if they step out of line, that the gravy train's over. Right? They want to know that. And Dr. Robert Glover's, I think, second wife said it really well. She said to him, and he talks about it in Dating Essentials for Men, but she says, if I can't trust that you'll stand up to me, how can I trust that you'll stand up for me? It's all about how she feels. And she might get mad about it. She might throw a tantrum about it. It's funny, when I do episodes about this, I'll get women inevitably complaining in the comments about men setting boundaries. But I'll tell you what, the people that complain about you setting boundaries are probably the people that need those boundaries the most. They're the reasons why you've even created a boundary. Think about that one for a minute, right? But women will test your boundaries to test you. And every ignored boundary is a message that you're not worth submitting to. Right? Now, in my first book, Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18, one of the things that I talk about is on the dating circuit is that you really only have, we're past the 8-minute mark too, which is awesome. You really only have 2 jobs when you're out dating, right? You have, you're testing a woman's interests and ability to follow your lead. That's a part of that is, are you able to set boundaries, and does she lose her shit about it? And all this kind of stuff. If you set a boundary and she respects that boundary, like out the gate, and she follows your lead, like that woman might be a contender. You still got to do your contenders list, which I talk about in this book. You still have to have your contenders list, but that's something that you're looking for, right? Not the other thing that you're doing on the dating circuit is the triple Fs, right? Facilitating fun and fucking. But that's your only job, right? But if you go and set boundaries and a woman loses her shit about it and she makes this whole big kerfuffle about it, just cut that bitch loose, dude. You don't need that headache in your life, okay? And it gets infinitely harder when you allow that stuff to happen over time and then you put a ring on it. It only gets worse from there because you've only taught her how to walk all over you and not respect anything you say. Women are only as shitty as we allow them to be. Women are only as shitty as we allow them to be. And it starts early in the process with you being able to set and enforce boundaries and not giving an inch. Okay. But if you've gotten to this point, where you need my latest book, all right, you probably either haven't set a goddamn boundary in your life and you just let her walk all over you and then you have that resentment, or instead of actually setting boundaries effectively, you're trying to negotiate, right? And so she'll test those boundaries, and every time you fail, it just the respect just erodes away. It just chips away, and next thing you know, she's walking all over you, and she has no respect for you. Okay, so frame precedes boundaries. Frame precedes boundaries, which is why we're talking about this on a Frame Friday. Okay. If she doesn't see you as the leader, your line in the sand is just dust. Okay. Now, she won't see you as the leader in the relationship if you don't see yourself as the leader in the relationship first. And that's where frame comes in. If you don't believe it, if you don't believe in your heart of hearts and you don't have that mental alignment, that subconscious alignment that you're the man, you set the tone, you lead the relationship, she's not going to believe it either. And I'm talking about you fundamentally believe it in your heart of hearts, in your paradigm, which is what my second book is about, right? Psychology Paradigm. It's about wiring your mind to have the kind of mental frame that you are the leader in the relationship. And if you fundamentally believe it, you'll carry yourself that way. If you carry yourself that way, she'll believe it too. And she'll be more likely to want to respect those boundaries. She'll want to. Okay. But it starts with your mental frame first. You have to have the mental frame that you set the tone and lead your relationship. Okay. She's not my partner. I'm the captain. She's my executive officer. Yeah, you have to have that mental frame or she's going to walk all over you, man. She's going to walk all over you. Your mental frame is either a fortress or a doormat. It's either a fortress or a doormat, okay? And she knows the difference immediately. She knows the difference immediately because she's testing you. She's been testing you this whole time. And all women test men, either consciously or subconsciously. You can't avoid it. You can't say, well, if she tests me, fuck her. I'm just going to dump her and find another woman. Like the next woman's going to test you too. You've got to learn how to handle this stuff, okay? That's largely my big thing with Get Her to Fuck You Again. Get Her to Fuck You Again is about fixing you and your mental frame and being able to build up the skills in your current relationship. And you have the best chance of turning things around if you do that, right? But if you don't, you've at least learned your fucking lesson. And in your next relationship, you're going to have the skills to not let things get as bad as they got in your last relationship. You understand? All right. This book is a win-win. It doesn't matter what happens with the relationship. You win. Okay. But it's all about building up that mental frame. Okay. It's paramount that you do that, right? Your mental frame is either a fortress or a doormat. You do not want to be a doormat where she just walks all over you because your boundaries are meaningless because you don't have any backbone and you won't enforce them. Okay. She knows the difference immediately because she's been testing you the whole time. All right, guys, while you're chewing on that one, do follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms, okay? I've got a video coming out today. I just made it this morning. The Beer Club brothers know about it. I dropped it in the chat this morning, and I said, this one's going to get me flagged. This one right here that's going to post at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, so 5 p.m. Eastern Time. When you see that one drop today on social media, I want you to look at it. I want you to understand the information that's in it, but also go, yep, that's going to get flagged. But please don't flag me, okay? Don't flag it because your feelers got hurt because I said your vagina's not magic. The women out there are gonna be like, what do you mean my vagina's not magic? Of course it is. And canceled. All right. Yeah. So follow me on social media. I'm always rabble rousing over there. Guys, get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. Get the ebook, She's Made You Weak. You get a whole bunch of other stuff too. You get like the first 3 chapters of Get Her to Fuck You Again. You get some free chapters from The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence Psychology Paradigm. You get the entire you get a free chapter from Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18. You'll get the entire Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18 if you join Beer Club, though. It's available as a free ebook for Beer Club members. But you get all that kind of stuff. You get the free stickers. I'll mail them to you. If you don't want stickers, just put don't want stickers in the address field. I won't waste a stamp on you. But you get a whole pack of freebies when you go to list.comeonmanpod.com. Okay. So check that out. But a lot of people are really giving me a positive feedback on She's Made You Weak. That's very helpful to a lot of men. So at least go and get that. Okay. And then we are talking about Frame Friday today. And my second book, which I mentioned already, Psychology Paradigm, is really my book on frame. And if you listen to this on Audible or read it on paperback or Kindle or even get the hardcover, you read this multiple times, your subconscious mind will absolutely start coming around to have this kind of alignment to where you are setting the tone and leading your relationships. You'll be leading in all areas of your life. This will help you in business. This will help you with your social groups, with your best friends and stuff like that, how to interact with people better. But most importantly, it'll help your mental frame in your relationship. Okay, that's what that book's for. Let me play a commercial for that book, and then we'll get back to the topic at hand today.
Have you ever felt like something's holding you back in your relationships? Like you're always on the back foot, struggling to connect with women? You're not alone. Many men are taught to be weak, to defer, to play small around women by their upbringing, by society, by the very world that shaped them. But what if you could break free from the invisible chains that have held you back? What if you could rewrite the script? Reprogram the paradigm that's been running your life. This is your chance to step into the man you were always meant to be. In The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, Psychology Paradigm by Paul Bauer, the first book in R.P. Thor's groundbreaking series, you'll learn how to understand and transform the paradigms that have shaped your life. You'll discover how to develop a dominant masculine presence, one that commands respect, inspires trust, and brings fulfillment to your relationships. Don't wait for life to change on its own. Take control. Order your copy of The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence Psychology Paradigm now on Amazon. Available in hardcover, paperback, or on Kindle. This is more than a book. It's your roadmap to a life of purpose, strength, and success. Make the decision today. Reprogram your life and step into the man you were meant to be.
Yes, indeed. And then also, I'm just going to drop a link to it here. Get Thor's new book, which is also a part of the Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence series. I helped Thor with it. I helped him with the formatting of it. Glenn and Huds helped with the cover of it. And then I also did the audiobook. So it's available in audio. There's something wrong with the paperback, which Glenn hasn't had time to fix yet, but you can get the hardcover or the Kindle edition. But at least get the audio version so you can hear the sweet, sultry sounds of Paul Bauer telling you how to have the superhero inside. That book's available there. I dropped a link in the chat. But just do a search on Amazon for The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence and get all the books in the series. AJ Matthews just dropped a new one. It's all about his Batman origin story on how he became the Viking detailer. If that interests you, it's all about identity. It's on the masculine presence, or the dominant masculine skill of identity and shaping your identity. All right, let's talk about boundaries begin with you, not her. All right. Here's a big problem that guys run into. All right. A lot of guys, especially in dead bedrooms, they end up in this situation. They make their wife or their girlfriend their mission. They make being a good husband and father to the kids and a good overall, spouse their mission in life, right? They give up on their own dreams of it and dreams and ambitions. Like when you're a teenager coming out of high school, you want to be the CEO of a company, you want to be a famous actor, whatever, right? What's his name? Tom Likas used to say it all the time. He said, women are dream killers. Okay. Women are dream killers. Well, they can be if you let them. If you make her your mission in life, they'll absolutely ask you to trade up your dreams for safety and security, right? They'll say, oh, you'll never be a famous actor. Why don't you go get this accounting job, right? Just because we have kids now and you need to think about us, And so the thing is that a lot of guys will do that. They'll be like, you're right, honey. You're right. I got to put food on the table. I got to be a provider and whatever, right? That's all part of the beta-tization process. Not to say that women won't, women will push you in the right direction, like career wise and to level up. Like it's not necessarily a bad thing. Some of the times what women will do, but the thing is that if you have big aspirations, right? Like you're going to start your own company someday, whatever it is, and you don't keep following that path, that's what attracted her to you in the first place. Like she saw your ambition, she saw your drive, she saw you working towards something, and she wanted to join your lifestyle. And the moment you let her change you and change your mind about that, and let's not worry about that. Go get a steady job, right? Like whatever it is that caused you to give up on your dreams, she starts losing respect for you, and it only goes downhill after that. I talk about AJ Styles every once in a while on the podcast, but it came out a year ago or something like that. If you guys don't know who AJ Styles is, he's a professional wrestler in WWE. He started out in TNA wrestling. He ended up going to New Japan for a while, was an IWGP heavyweight champion over there, which is a big thing. If you guys aren't following wrestling, that's kind of a big deal. And then he came to WWE several years ago. But the thing is he could have joined WWE like 15 years ago. He had the opportunity like 15, 20 years ago to come to WWE, but he gave it up so that his wife could pursue her dream of being a preschool teacher or something like that. It's like, AJ, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to wrestle in the big show. You're giving up that dream so she can do something as common as being a preschool teacher. Like she could do that anywhere, bro. She could do that anywhere. And you're going to play bingo halls and stuff like that so that she can have her dreams. You know that she lost respect for him for doing that kind of crap. AJ Styles, he's married, he has kids and stuff like that, but he ain't getting no pussy at home. You know that. She's tired every night. She's got a headache. AJ needs my book. Anyway, she's not your mission, okay? Your life has to be bigger than the relationship. Your life has to be bigger than the relationship. You've got to have Dr. Robert Glover talks about this as building a great cake of a life for yourself. You got to build that great cake of a life for yourself, and your woman cannot be the cake itself, right? She can only be the icing on top, right? Who is it? Brother Nathan, I think in Beer Club refers to it as an ice cream sundae, right? She's not the ice cream. She's not, she's maybe the cherry on top, right? Like you want to be whole and complete without her, right? The bullshit of you complete me, right? From Jerry Maguire, complete blue-pilled fantasy nonsense. A woman doesn't want to be your world. And as soon as you do that, as soon as you make her your world, she loses respect for you. She stops respecting your boundaries. She walks all over you. And you become a do boy, right? She starts putting you to work. You start doing all the dishes for her and stuff like that in the hopes of getting a sniff. Okay. Can't do that. She can't be your mission, right? You've got to have a mission outside of her, and you can never let a woman take you off that mission. Okay. When you focus on her moods and her feelings and her reactions to stuff, you've lost the frame. You've lost all frame in a relationship. Now you're operating in her frame. whenever you're walking on eggshells and you're trying to make her happy all the time and you're doing whatever she says and you're just, anytime she's upset, now you're upset because you don't want her to be upset, right? You're completely operating in her frame. Okay. You can't do that. Right. Now you can be empathetic to her. And there's a difference between empathy and sympathy, right? Empathy is like, you understand where she's coming from. Sympathy is where like you take on that emotion and you like really feel it with her. Like she doesn't want that, you know? She doesn't want you to have a decent understanding of where her feelings are or whatever. But like, if you go to say, hey, honey, what's eating at you? You know, you want to get it off your chest. And she says no, like, don't be chasing that down. Just be like, okay, well, when you're ready to talk about it, I'll be over here. And don't climb on her emotional roller coaster. She doesn't want you there. Okay. But if she truly wants to talk about it, if she truly wants that validation from you, she'll come and get it. She'll come chasing after you to get it. Okay. But you don't need to walk around trying to squash any little bit of tension in your household. Like, let her be mad. Let her be sad. Let her be upset. It's okay. It's okay if she has her own emotions. But it's not okay for you to be affected by those. Okay. As soon as you start doing that, you've lost frame and now you're operating in her frame. Okay. Boundaries work when they protect your mission, not your ego. Right. If you could take because here's the thing, if you're setting boundaries based on your ego, you're operating from emotion. You're not really acting rationally. But if you make your boundaries about your mission, then you take ego out of it and it becomes a rational decision and it becomes a part of your value system. And you're more likely to be cool with enforcing that if you're hyper focused on your mission and you won't let anything jeopardize your mission. Does that make sense? Attraction is the gatekeeper to obedience. If she's not into you, she's not listening to you. This sort of goes hand in hand with a couple of Red Pill forum articles that I read a while ago. One was Archwinger. Archwinger wrote one called Betas Don't Get to Set Boundaries, right? Something like that. It was all about how betas don't get to set boundaries. And the reason why what that whole post was about is basically you've let yourself get to the point in a relationship where your wife has no respect for you anymore. There's a reason why you go to try to, be an alpha male up and tell her what's what. And she laughs at you and just does the complete opposite, right? It's because you've lost all respect. To her, you're a beta now. And she doesn't have to listen to your boundaries. And she knows that you're not going to do fuck all about it. So she just says, yeah, whatever, big man. And then does whatever she's going to do anyway. Okay. So what Archwinger basically says is you need to not focus when you're at that point. You can't focus on trying to set more boundaries. You have to work on building yourself up and, building your sexual market value back up to a place where she starts respecting you again. And that starts small. That starts with learning how to handle her shit tests better. Starts with stuff like that. It starts with leading in small little areas, right? Planting seeds, stuff like that. And then eventually it's about, you don't talk about it. You don't talk, walk, right? Like that kind of stuff, where you start really enforcing your boundaries by removing your time and attention and that sort of thing. Ryan Stone has a very similar article that was written a couple of years later called, if you're not fucking, shut the fuck up about leading, which I think is a funny article because I talk about leading a lot, right? Like you got to set the tone and lead your relationship. Well, a lot of that concept comes from when you're on the dating circuit and having that mental frame of I set the tone, lead my relationships. And then when you find a woman that's willing to follow your lead and stuff like that, all you have to do is maintain that. You're already leading, right? So it's a lot easier to say, set the tone and lead if you've been doing that from the beginning. But if you're at this point where you need get her to fuck you again, you can't, it's hard to lead because she doesn't respect you and she's walking all over you anyway. Right? She didn't give a shit about your boundaries. So you have to start with building up your sexual market value first, and little by little regaining that respect, right? So attraction is the gatekeeper to obedience, right? If she's not into you, she's not listening to you. So that's why we talk about building up your sexual market value again. You have to be the kind of guy that she's attracted to again, because women are more submissive to guys that they're attracted to. A lot of times you'll see, women will watch this and they'll be like, what? That's bullshit. No, I'll never do that sort of thing. Right. But then if you ask them, yeah, but for the right guy, would you do that? Oh yeah. For the right guy. Okay. For the right guy. So it's always, I would never do that unless it's for the right guy, which means she's attracted to him, right? That's the right guy. You'll see, there was a video that went out several years ago, and it was with Chris Evans dressed like Captain America. And this lady was talking about the things that I would let this man do to me is unspeakable. Like I would let him spit in my mouth. Like I would let him do all this gross, disgusting stuff because she's attracted to him. Right. Guys that women are attracted to, it's like, that's why you'll see a lot of women with just complete fucking assholes, right? That just completely abuse these women. And I don't condone that at all. Right. But they'll do that. And these women will stay with those guys because, he's attractive, right? He's sexy. So they'll fucking tolerate all sorts of shit. In Eric Everhart's book, Unleash Your Sexual Superpowers, which, God, I really wish he would get the rights back to that and start self-publishing, because that's a phenomenal book. But if you read Unleash Your Sexual Superpowers, that he talks about that in there. Like, if you're dicking her down right and she finds you like super attractive, she'll forget all your bullshit, right? It all comes down to attraction, right? Attraction is the gatekeeper to obedience. Okay, if she's not into you, she's not listening to you. Your habits, your body, your goals. That's the foundation she respects, not the rules you bark out. Okay. Your habits, your body, your goals. The thing is though, right? If you're a guy on your mission and you're always working on your sexual market value, and she perceives you as her best hypergamous option, all that kind of stuff, you're focused on your mission. You might have to set certain boundaries pretty good in the beginning of the relationship, right? And if you've been doing this all from the beginning of the relationship, it's so much easier to maintain, which is one of the things I talk about in my first book, but that's the foundation. Okay. It's not necessarily the words coming out of your mouth. It's how you act, how you carry yourself. Do you have that dominant masculine presence? Right? All right. Guys, while you're pondering that, do consider joining Beer Club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. It's a good group of dudes. We have over 50 guys in there. We had our hangout last night. It was a really good meetup. I was on the call for about 2.5 hours. I don't know how much longer it lasted after that, but what a great conversation. Good group of guys. Good questions. We had some newer guys in the group actually pop on and ask questions. One of the guys is actually reading Psychology Paradigm now, and he had questions about journaling and stuff like that. Perfect place to just get together and swap notes with guys, right? But most importantly, we just talk about like whatever. And it's just a place for men to connect with other men. And it's just an outlet that most guys don't have. Let me play a commercial for that real quick, and then we'll get to the final segment here.
Here's a harsh truth that everybody gets upset about online when I say it. They get upset because of their ego investment into the fairy tale idea of love and partnership. They get upset because of their ego investment into the idea that their woman is their best friend, their confidant, and they think that love will conquer all, and that their woman will be there through thick and thin. The truth is that as a man, your woman is hardwired biologically and psychologically to want you to be her rock. It doesn't work the other way around. Women do not care about your struggles as a man. They may think they care. They may even want to care, but her evolutionary DNA will not let her care. If you bring her your problems, she will lose attraction for you over time, and she will leave. Now, whenever I talk about this, people lose their minds and start talking about men unaliving themselves. The faster that men learn that women don't care about our struggles, the faster we'll save the lives of men. Men off themselves because of their own ego investments in the Disney fairy tale line. And when that fairy tale goes up in flames, they get zeroed out and they end things. Men do need a proper outlet for dealing with their problems, but going to their woman isn't the answer. Men need a tribe. They need a brotherhood. That's why I created my beer club. It's a monthly virtual hangout for men only. It's a place where men can be men. It's a place where men can talk about guy stuff without having to worry about offending women. It's a place where they can go without having to worry about being called toxically masculine. It's a place where they can go to solve their problems. Because men solve problems. Women cause problems, you dig? Visit beer.comeonmanpod.com. That's beer.comeonmanpod.com to sign up.
Indeed. And then guys, if you want to work with me one-on-one, you can do that. Go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. But I have a policy that if you have not read my book and have not done the workbook, I will not take the call with you. I will not. I can't work with guys that aren't going to do the work. I can't. It reflects badly on me when guys show up every week and I say, hey, did you do the exercise? And they're like, oh, no, I didn't have time to do it. Like, okay, because you're not going to get any results and it's not cheap to work with me, okay? So at the very least, go buy the book, do that, do the workbook. Once you start making some progress there, book a call with me, okay? All right. We have a couple of super chats here. Let's see here. We've got, well, first of all, we've got Nurse Chick in the house. She says, good morning, gentlemen. Thank God it's Friday. It's been a hell of a week, babe. It has been.
So naughty.
And you are.
I'm going to come.
And yes, I will. You don't worry about that. And then brother Ed from Beer Club, happy Beer Club Easter. Yes, sir. And because he's a Beer Club brother, I'm going to give him the shaking booty video. That's what he came for.
Super chat with see you there. Shake it, dance without a care. Send it love from everywhere. Groovy beats we all can share. Your support is so divine. Moving closer to the line. Thank you, you're the best. Party on, we never rest.
Hell yeah. And then and demonetized. Okay, and then brother John Egan, he's also in Beer Club. He sent a $5 super chat. It's always about frame. When you get it, your problems get smaller. And that's a fact. One of the guys in Beer Club asked me last night, we were talking about when your girl ends up making more money than you. Like if you ever watch Rich Cooper will talk about how as soon as a woman starts making more money than you, that's the beginning of the end. It's Breifeld's Law. Well, Breifeld's Law actually says when she gets no value from you anymore, then that's when no relationship's going to take place anymore. Okay. It basically women control that, right? They control that. That's why relationships are a woman's job. If she is getting value from you, she knows how to keep you. Okay. Women know how to keep a man. If deep down, you know, ladies, how to keep a man. It's not that fucking hard, right? Belly's full, balls empty. Shut your mouth. Okay. Like it's fucking easy. But Rich Cooper will say, no, it's as soon as she starts making more money, it's, you know, that's Breifeld's Law. She'll leave you. Well, but the Breifeld's Law isn't money. It's perceived value. Right. And so that's what, when you talk about, if you read Ryan Stone's book on Dread, what he talks about is we live in a modern era where a lot of women actually are making more money than men these days. So what do you do? What do you do in that situation? Well, now you have to become a luxury brand, right? That's what he calls it. You have to become a luxury brand. You'll have perceived value if you have more to offer her than just money. But there's a lot of guys out there. I'm not saying Rich is, but there's a lot of guys out there that lead with their wallets. They lead with their money to get women. Right? They try to show women, hey, look how much money I make. Let me take you out to lavish steak dinners. Let's go on a a weekend trip to Paris because I can afford it, honey, right? Like it's all about how much money I have. And so women are happy to take advantage of that shit, right? That's why when I teach guys to date, I'm like, don't do that shit, right? Keep initial dates low investment at first, drinks only. Make her put some effort in, right? Make her earn more expensive dates. Let her figure out later that, oh shit, you're actually a baller and you have a lot of money. Like, holy shit, like what kind of guy did I ended up with? I actually like this guy and he has money. This is amazing, right? But if you lead with your wallet and she's like, oh yeah, this guy's got a lot of money, of course, that's all she's going to use you for. And as soon as she starts making more, she's going to dump your ass because that's all you had to offer her. Right. So anyway, getting back to John's $5 super chat, it's always about your mental frame. Right. So in a relationship, even if she makes more money than you, if you have the mental frame that I don't care how much money you make, I set the tone and lead this relationship. This is my relationship. I'm the captain. You're the executive officer when you're with me. Right. If you have that, she's like, oh shit, I don't have to fucking make decisions. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. All right. Now he's a Beer Club brother too. So we're going to bump him up to the $10 super chat video.
Thank you for the super chats. Movies bouncing, can't stop that. From the east to the west, you are the best. Keep those chats coming in, let's do it all again.
Oh, and brother Larry, who's also a Beer Club brother, sent a $20 super chat. Keep up the awesome work. Unfortunately, I got rid of the foot fetish video. That was more of a joke. But so I can't bump that up to the $30 super chat video that I had because that's just silly. But I will play you the shaking booty video again. Thanks for that, Larry.
Super chat, we'll see you there. Shake it, dance without a care. Send it love from everywhere. Groovy beats we all can share. Your support is so divine. Moving closer to the line. Thank you, you're the best. Party on, we never rest.
And demonetized. And guys, if you have questions or whatever, do try to send those as super chats so I make sure I see them. Okay. Otherwise it's lost in the sauce there. All right. Let's talk about the final topic here. The boundaries that actually work and the frame that holds them. So there's basically three categories of boundaries. If you think about it, you have time and energy, right? Who and what gets your attention? Who and what gets your attention? And in girl world, attention is the coin of the realm, right? If she's not respecting your boundaries, well, you remove your time and attention. Okay. Stop giving her what she wants. She wants that attention and validation. You've lost that privilege, young lady. You have behavioral standards, right? What will you not tolerate in a relationship? I often use the example of I will not be with a woman who goes out with her single 304 friends, right? If a nurse chick came to me tomorrow and said, hey, by the way, I'm going on a ladies only Cancun trip, I would dump her right there. I wouldn't tell her she can't go. I would just say, all right, well, you're not welcome back here if you go on that trip. That's behavioral standards, because we all know what happens when women go on women's only trips to Cancun. Okay. What goes on in Cancun at the Canon phone party stays in Cancun at the Canon phone party. We all know that. There is no good that will come out of her hanging out with her single 304 friends, especially in Cancun. It's time to, as Tom Likas would say, DTB, right? It's time to dump that bitch. Paul, that's harsh. I know. Lifestyle alignment. This is another category of boundary. Lifestyle alignment, right? Your long-term mission direction. Okay. You need to have the mental frame of you're on a mission. You're going this way. right? You're on the success train, baby, and the success train's going this way. She either gets on board or she gets left behind. Okay? You cannot let her sway your mission because of whatever emotions she's got going on. Okay? So it's a lifestyle alignment. If she's not aligning with that lifestyle, all right, that's her choice, but she's not going to be on the success train with you. Okay? And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that. God, I love this guy too. He's one of my OG 3% brothers. He just went through a breakup in December, and the breakup was because he was on the success train following his mission. He had standards that he wasn't willing to compromise on. For instance, they lived in separate houses, right? He had his daughter. She had, I think, a daughter of her own or something like that. And she kept pressuring him to eventually live together and do the Brady Bunch thing. And he was like, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And she kept pressuring him so much and threatening to walk away if he didn't acquiesce. And he was just like, no, but he felt the pressure so much he would come to me constantly about it, And I was like, dude, hold your fucking ground, man. You have to be okay with her moving on because she wants something different than you. That's where your lifestyles just aren't going to be in alignment. And that's okay. And you have to be okay with that. But most guys get so attached and afraid of losing a girl that's the mental frame they have, right? They're afraid of losing the girl. You've got to reprogram that to be, if she messes up, she's going to lose you because you're on the success train moving forward. Okay. And if she doesn't want to get on board the success train, that's on her. That's not on you. Okay. There's 4 billion women on the planet. You're going to find one that wants to get on that success train with you. Okay. You got to be okay with that. That's the abundant mindset you have to have, that there's always another woman. Okay. Because as soon as you get into the mental frame of, I might lose her if I don't do what she says, you're operating in her frame now. Okay. And that's just the first stop on the erosion of the relationship anyway. She's going to lose respect for you if you don't hold your ground. And you got to be okay with her moving on. Right. So a lifestyle alignment is a category of boundaries that you have to consider. Okay. And it has to be non-negotiable, and you have to be okay with people not staying in your life. Okay. Because boundaries are for you and protecting you and your mission and what you're doing in this world. And people either get on board or they don't. But if you have the mental frame of, this is what I'm doing, it's funny how people often get into alignment with that, because whoever has the strongest frame wins in all areas of your life. Okay. What else was I was going to say some other cool shit about that, but I forgot now. Okay. You don't explain your boundaries, right? You live them. When she crosses the line, she feels the loss immediately because you don't talk about it. You are about it. Okay. That's where Archwinger's article, he has an article on how communication is validation seeking behavior. And what he's talking in there is how basically if you're trying to explain your boundaries and trying to tell them why you have these boundaries, all this kind of stuff, you're already losing. You're already at a 1-down position. It's the same thing as deering. You're basically deering, right? What's deering? Defend, explain, excuse, rationalize. Okay. It's what nice guys tend to do. They over-explain things. They try to justify their actions because they don't feel secure enough just enforcing the boundary, right? They feel like, I have to justify this somehow. Well, if you're justifying in any way, you're making her the arbiter of what's right and wrong in the relationship. You're making her the judge. You're putting her at a position that's above you. Now she's looking down on you. Now she thinks you're weak. All right. Don't talk about it. Just be about it. All right. You don't have to explain boundaries. You live them. Now, there's a caveat to this. If she doesn't know a boundary exists, like you do have to at least communicate the boundary, right? Now, I think I've heard Rolo say you don't even have to communicate the boundary. You just immediately tell them with your actions, right? Like they do something that pisses you off, you remove your time and attention. That's one way of doing it. I personally think that's kind of childish. Not say Rolo's childish. I just think that type of action is kind of childish, right? It's okay to say if you go to the Cancun thing, you can do that, but I'm not going to be here when you get back. Okay. Now, Rolo will also say that a ultimatum is the declaration of powerlessness. That's where I was going to go with that lifestyle alignment, right? Going back to lifestyle alignment with my friend, she kept pressuring him by saying, we have to live with each other or I'm going to leave. Well, she's giving him an ultimatum, and an ultimatum is a declaration of powerlessness, right? Just know that if your girl's giving you an ultimatum, she's basically lost all other options in her arsenal of manipulation tactics, and she has to go direct, which isn't natural for her. Okay. So she's probably going to be leaving pretty soon, and you have to be okay with that. But yeah, so going back to explaining boundaries, you don't have to explain them, but you can articulate them in a way, but once you articulate them, if you don't follow through, now it becomes an ultimatum, and now it is a declaration of powerlessness, right? There's a line, there's a fine line there. Okay. But there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with articulating your boundary to prevent something from happening. The power move isn't confrontation, it's disconnection, right? Silence is nuclear when backed by real options. So this is kind of where I talk about a lot, having being lovingly detached from a relationship, right? Being lovingly detached means that you're okay with whatever happens because you're always observing things from like a third-party perspective to stay rational about what's going on and strategic about what's going on. And you don't have to get into a confrontation because usually confrontations are emotions-based, right? I'm going to confront her about this, right? But if you're looking at things objectively and rationally from a third-party perspective, you don't have to do that, right? You can just sort of detach from it and then just proceed as planned, right? So silence is nuclear when backed by real options. This is where like you don't even have to talk about it, right? She violates that boundary, you walk. You do what you said you were going to do, right? You don't even have to say anything about it. She goes and does it anyway. You just proceed with the action step, right? She's like, "Oh, I'm going to that Cancun party." Okay. And when she gets back, all of her shit's out in the front doorstep, and the door locks are changed, right? That says everything you need to fucking say. There's no discussion about it. I already told you. I already fucking told you. Emotion control is the frame, right? Boundaries backed by anger equals weakness. Boundaries backed by indifference equals power, right? You just do what you say you're going to do. You don't get into your emotions about it, right? Because as soon as you let yourself get into the emotions and get on her emotional roller coaster, she's got you, bro. now you're speaking. Now you're operating in her world, right? The world of emotions, and nothing makes sense, and you'll never win. You'll never win when you're operating in your emotions, trying to talk to her, because it's all just fucking chaos, right? So backed by indifference equals power. Be the man who says less and walks away more, right? Nothing makes a woman reconsider like distance from a man she wants to follow. Okay. Like if she's truly into you and her actions are pushing you away, you don't even have to say anything. You just need to be willing to walk away and mean it. And that says everything you need to say. And then she'll start reevaluating her life choices. Okay. And if she's not, because she doesn't fucking respect you and she doesn't like you anyway, then good riddance. Who fucking cares? Okay. But you have to have that kind of mental attitude of it doesn't matter what she's doing. It doesn't matter if she regrets it or not. Like you either get on board or you don't. And if you don't, fine. I'm still on the success train moving forward, right? Leadership means expectation and consequence, not pleading for cooperation. Okay. So that's why you clearly define. That's why I said it's okay to actually express what your boundaries are. Right. So this is my expectation. I will not be with someone who goes to the Cancun foam party. And then it's backed by a consequence if she does it. Right. There's no fucking ifs, ands, or buts. You know what? I saw a video a couple of years ago that I thought was hilarious. And it was a woman who made a TikTok about it. And you could tell that this guy made a serious impression on her. And it was on a first date. She had a first date with a guy. And he made plans to go somewhere. And she gets in the car and immediately starts like making fun of him for the plans, like shit testing him, basically. She starts doing that. And she's like, nah, like what a silly place that you picked. And da-da-da. He didn't say a word. He just fucking pulled a U-turn, brought her back to her house and said, get out. And she's like, what? And he goes, this isn't going to work out. Get out. So she got out and then made a whole TikTok about it. Like, this man, like, put me in my place, and that's all she could think about. And she was like, it was so, and I talk about how hot it was that this guy was just like, nope. Right? You need to have that kind of attitude with this kind of stuff, because that's how you earn respect and keep respect, right? You don't have to plead for her cooperation. She either cooperates or she fucking kicks rocks, right? If you're attractive, if you're decisive and mission driven, you won't really need to fight for your boundaries. You won't really need to. She'll want to do it. She'll follow because she's afraid of messing things up with you. Right? That's goes all back to the mental frame of being the prize, right? Being the prize, being the one that sets the tone and leads the relationship, and fundamentally believing that in your heart of hearts, right? But you have to be that guy, right? You have to be that guy. You have to be a guy that takes your health seriously. You go to the gym, right? You are always working on leveling up. You're always working on that next thing. You're always working on improving yourself. You're on the success train, okay? If you're a piece of shit that is, 100 pounds overweight, all you do is play video games all day, you work at fucking McDonald's, like you don't have fuck all going for you in your life, then if you're like, I'm the prize, I set the tone, lead my relationship, you're fucking delusional, okay? You actually have to be that guy. But the thing is once you truly get in alignment with that, like you will start operating that way. Like your actions, your subconscious will dictate your actions. Your actions create reactions. Those reactions create your results in life, right? You will actually have results of someone who's successful, who's setting the tone, leading, who's actually on a success train, right? If you truly program your mind and get in alignment with that, right? You'll just start naturally being that guy. You'll be more attractive. You'll be more decisive. You'll be more mission driven. She'll want to join your lifestyle. She'll want to follow your lead. You won't even really have to set those boundaries, right? All right, guys. Let's wrap up and just sort of close out with the ideas that we talked about today. We talked about how basically boundaries aren't about control. They're about clarity. When your values are clear, your presence commands more than any conversation. So having that dominant masculine presence. If you're struggling with boundaries, it's not really about her. It's about you. And you not being a man worthy of respect. So what are you going to do about that? Right? You got to start working on that. You want to reclaim your frame, reclaim your power. And once you do that, everything else will follow. That's what this book is about. Okay. But if you really need to work on your mental frame, that's what this book is about. Okay. Go to books.comeonmanpod.com. You'll get all my books there. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in today. We have a lot of people watching live today. Smash that like button. There should be at least 60 likes on this video right now. Guys, tune into the podcast on Monday. The topic is the surprising truth about quiet women. Do you have a quiet woman in your life? I'll tell you how to deal with her proper, because Nurse Chick is the quietest woman I know. We'll talk a little bit about Nurse Chick on Monday's episode. It's all good stuff, though. It's all good stuff. All right, guys, that's all I got. Let's see here. We don't have any other super chats. All right, guys, that's all I got. Do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I appreciate all you guys showing up. There's a ton of you guys here. Please do that. Please do that. I have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thanks for everyone that sounded off in the live chat. That all boosts us in the algorithm. Thank you for the super chats, guys. They were very generous super chats. I appreciate that. Follow me on social media. The link's in the description, and do look out for the video that I got coming out at 5 p.m. Eastern today. Make sure you like that before it gets fucking flagged. It's definitely going to get banned on TikTok. It's going to violate some guidelines. I'm sure of it. It's going to be like harassment or bullying or something. You'll love it. Get on the email list. Get the ebook, She's Made You Weak, which talks about the betatization process and why attraction tends to erode in a long-term relationship. I created a new ebook that I'm going to drop next month, and it's going to be on getting your ex back, right? If you're the guy who's recently went through a breakup and you know it's not a good idea, but you want to get your ex back, fine. I'll show you how to fucking get your ex back. That's what the ebook is called. Fine. I'll show you how to get your ex back. Get on the email list now. And if you get on the email list now, then I'll send it out to new people. But after that, I'm going to be pushing that ebook because that's going to go hand in hand with my next book that is going to come out in June called Forget That Bitch, a red pill guide to breakups. You guys are going to fucking love that book. Speaking of books, get all my current books at books.comeonmanpod.com. You can find them there. And get in Beer Club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. It's a good group of dudes. There's over 50 guys in there. This is really like the next logical step. After you've read the books and you really want to work on yourself, get in Beer Club because there's guys that have been through everything that you're going through right now. You can ask them how they handled it and they will help you walk through that fire. Okay. You don't have to do that shit alone. It's only $10 a month. Go to beer.comeonmanpod.com for that. And then guys, you can work with me. I do work with people one-on-one. Go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com, but you have to have read the book before you do that. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time and money, okay? And I'm not here to waste people's time and money. I'm here to help men. So start with getting the book, and then if you still need help, book a call with me, okay? All right, that's all we got. We will see you guys on Monday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.